Chapter 27, Part 3, A Splendid Little War. Americans also established huge sugar plantations on the Caribbean island of Cuba, only 90 miles from Florida. Like nearby Puerto Rico, Cuba was still a Spanish colony. By the 1890s, American expansionists wanted to annex both of these islands. To support their ambitions, they argued that it was time for the United States to enforce the Monroe Doctrine. No European country, they said, should control territory in the Western Hemisphere. Cubans' struggle for independence. The Cubans themselves had staged an unsuccessful revolt against Spain in 1868. In 1895, under the inspiring leadership of José Martí, Cubans again tried to win their independence. To crush this movement, the Spanish herded men, women, and children into reconcentration camps, forced to live without beds, toilets, medical care, or much food, and tens of thousands died. American newspapers jumped at the chance to report the stories of Cuban suffering. Competing fiercely for customers, some newspapers reporters turned to yellow journalism, or offering sensational and shocking reports. Some of these stories were based on rumors and untruths. One said that a Spanish general was feeding prisoners to sharks. As sympathy for Cubans grew, more and more Americans were willing to go to war for Cuba. To help Americans in Cuba in case of trouble, President McKinley sent the new battleship Maine to the island's capital city, Havana. The Spanish-American War. Trouble soon erupted in Havana. On February 15, 1898, an explosion shook the Maine, sinking the battleship and killing 260 American sailors. No one knew whether the explosion was caused by an accident or a mine or bomb, but many Americans were quick to blame Spain. Said Theodore Roosevelt, the Maine was sunk by an act of dirty treachery on the part of the Spaniards. Young men rushed to join the army, raising the battle cry, "Remember the Maine." Senators shouted, "Free Cuba," hoping to avoid war. McKinley offered to work out a solution before the Spanish and the Cubans, but the Spanish did not respond. So yellow journalism, a little bit of a review, is the practice of publishing sensational and often exaggerated news stories in order to attract readers. So more or less, yellow journalism was the act of creating or lying in the newspaper so that people would buy your newspapers.